Big news released by Buckingham Palace yesterday. His coronation's to take place on Saturday, the 6th of May, at Westminster Abbey. Lots of excitement about that building.
I should think so. Camilla will be alongside the King and will also be crowned in the historic ceremony.
And we can speak to the royal broadcaster and historian Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, who's joining us this morning to discuss all of this. Good morning to you, Rafe. Interesting, it's come earlier than we were perhaps expecting. There was lots of speculation it would be the same weekend as the Platinum Jubilee last year, which of course was the same date or thereabouts of Her Majesty the Queen's coronation in 1953. I wonder why he's gone for early May.
Well, for a few reasons. The original reason that the Queen's coronation was held on the first weekend on June the 2nd, 1953, was that was the date that was supposed to have the best weather, and it poured down with rain. And then again, for the Diamond Jubilee, which was also held that same weekend, once again, it poured down with rain. So the idea that early June is actually the best time to hold one of these events is certainly something that has been reevaluated. There are many reasons for this. There was an understanding that there were several sporting events taking place in early June they didn't want to conflict with, but they wanted to ensure good weather. And so at the end of the day, they decided that May was actually the best time to have this. Although, of course, there was big discussions, we know, about whether or not to have a bank holiday, because there are already 2 bank holidays in May. Do we want to have a third bank holiday in 1 month? Especially with the cost of living crisis, it would cost around 800 million or so. So they've chosen to have it on a Saturday. That gives the government some leeway in deciding whether or not to have a bank holiday or just to keep to a normal weekend.
A lot of people throwing their sort of toys out the pram, Rafe, that this is, a pared-down ceremony. I mean, in effect, it's just being modernised a little bit, isn't it, considering it is the best part of 100 years since we had the last one?
Well, I spoke about this just the other day. 1,000 years of this ceremony, it is part of our contribution to global civilization. We have architectural listing of buildings. St. Paul's Cathedral is Grade 1 listing. The coronation ceremony is so ancient and it's unique in the world now. We are the only country to anoint the sovereign. It's a very ancient rite, and to actually put the crown on the head. And it's akin to tampering, with a symphony or a painting by Turner or Constable, to remove it, to change it from being 3.5 hours to just over an hour or so in length. I think that is something of a shame. You can, of course, definitely take account of the changing diversity of the country. So that's always happened. In 1953, a place was created for the moderator of the Church of Scotland to take part in the coronation service when he handed a Bible. I could easily see ways in which you can definitely incorporate Britain's new multi-faith society into the service without detracting from its core Anglican roots. But to do away with a lot of the pomp and pageantry, when we discussed this the other day on GBNews, I looked at the comments underneath that YouTube clip, and 95%, it seemed to me, of GBNews viewers did not want to see a pared-down version of the coronation service. It's at times of doom and gloom that the nation actually looks towards these sorts of events as important occasions to celebrate and bring the nation together. In 1953, Britain was still undergoing rationing. Rationing didn't end until 1954 for food and clothing and so forth, and yet we had this magnificent coronation. And indeed, in 1947, we saw people giving their own ration books up to Buckingham Palace to ensure that the Queen had a nice wedding, and a nice wedding dress too. I think it's a shame if we do away with some of the great aspects of Britain's great heritage.